Welcome to All Things Retreat Podcast. I'm Holly Porter, your host and CEO of Retreat R&R. With over 25 years of experience in designing transformative retreats, I'm here to share insights and inspiration to help you create extraordinary experiences. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, you'll find valuable ideas here. Enjoy the ride. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show today. And if this is your first time, you're in for a treat. We've got a new guest today that we haven't had before, and it's a guy. I was getting told that I hadn't had a lot of guys on the show, and I looked back and I thought it had been quite a while. I think we've only had maybe 3 or 4 total in the whole year that we've been going. So I'm excited that you have some men coming up here. And today's one of them. His name's Jim Padilla, and he is the kind of leader who's been through life's fire and emerged with grit, wisdom, and unstoppable drive. Born to a teenage mom, navigating a tough situation with anger, Jim's early years were marked by a chaotic upbringing that ultimately landed him in foster care at 15, on the streets at 16, and in jail by 18. The following decade wasn't any easier for Jim, but he credits his past from equipping him with the skills to lead in high-stake environment. He learned how to keep people safe, navigate volatile situations, and influence others to make grounded decisions, all skills that have been essential to his success in sales and business building. Today, Jim channels his background into guiding business owners through their most critical challenges, helping them turn chaos into order and complexity into profit. And I just have to add, I've known Jim, maybe 10 years now, I think, Jim, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably something like that. And he's just been a great guy, and him and his wife, Cindy, do sells things together. We'll hear all about that. And I'm excited he's going to be on here because this was a great time to have it. It's a new year and everybody's thinking about how they're going to probably profit a little bit better this year. So welcome to the show, Jim.
Hey, Holly, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on. Most of our listeners are going to be, or are retreat leaders, aspiring retreat leaders, whether they've done it for a while or they're thinking about it. They're searching podcasts to like the how-tos, and we hope that we bring obviously good guests, not only, but that we bring the right information that will help them make educated decisions. I feel like our little chat today is going to be a little bit geared to the income-based people that want to do retreats for making a profit, or maybe selling those high-ticket items that they're not, especially if they're a speaker and they're on stage, working at selling those high ticket things, a little more challenging. And I teach people that bring them into a retreat for 3 to 7 to 10 days and everything can change for your bottom line. So you want to talk on that a little bit, what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been in this business model for decade and a half, and we've been blessed to generate, $500 million worth of sales results. But we started our first 2 years, all we did was launches and events. We didn't do anything but launches and events. We did, an incredible amount of revenue with that. And so we learned we made every possible mistake and did everything, learned a lot of things by trial and error in that model. And we've found a lot of things out that are super effective for people. And so happy to share some of those insights, because you were talking about the conversion piece on the revenue. And I believe that I see everything through the lens of conversion. And I believe every single event you do should be an opportunity for a conversion. It doesn't always have to be conversion into revenue, but no matter what you're doing, your desired outcome is to get somebody committed to take action on something you just did for them, or committed to take action on something you're going to have them do next. So you're always selling.
Yeah. Is and not looking like you're always selling or sounding like you're always selling is the key, I think. Right. Nobody wants to be sold to, right?
Correct.
So let's talk about how important pre-qualification, because we're talking about revenue retreats right now here today, especially when leaders want aligned and they want high vibe participants, not just the bodies in place at the retreat, right? We want people that actually can take action. Can you speak on that?
Yeah. The first thing that you always want to think about is you have to engineer the event first. And then what I see often is people say, well, who's the person? Let me create the event that'll serve the person. Create the event that's going to deliver the greatest outcome that you're capable of delivering, whether it's through you or partners or people you bring into the situation. The event needs to be peak. Then you start determining what's the problems it's going to solve, what's the journey that they're going to have to go in order to be able to solve that problem. And then you start working your way back towards who's the person that's going to most benefit from this? Then you start qualifying for that, because you may have 1,000 people, 10,000, 100,000 people on your list, but maybe this event is only cut out for a certain piece of that list. And you don't want to just, what most people do is invite everybody. And then you have a big mix of people in the room. And the most ideal experience is one that's going to be carved out and cut out for that specific person, including the community of people you surround them with.
Yeah. Well, I think it should, like an application process or interview process almost for these type of things should go both ways. I think you going as an attendee need to have those expectations of what's going, that they're probably going to make you an offer of something they do. Hopefully you already know what they do and you're interested in it, and that's why you're attending. But as the retreat leader, you don't just want anybody. You're right. You want to be a little bit selective, and having some kind of qualification, a questionnaire or an interview, pre-interview, I think, yeah, so smart.
Yeah. First, be willing to be really clear about who you cut out from that. Because the easiest way to know if you're attracting the right person is get crystal clear on the person you don't want, because then when they show up, you can say, this one's not for you. Right. And it's important. It's just as important of knowing who needs to be in the room as knowing who's not going to be in the room. And then it's also something that becomes part of your event promise. We're not going to surround you with people that are like this. We're going to surround you with people that are in this same space, on this same journey with you, that you can all energetically vibe and connect and roll together, whether that's a boardroom of CEOs in a financial arena for, Fortune 100 companies, or it's a bunch of spiritual leaders that are, in a very woo-woo space that are doing something transformational. It doesn't matter. Those principles always apply.
Yeah. We were talking before the show, probably should have started recording it earlier, because it was some good stuff you were saying, but we were talking about when someone in this position, you were mentioning, 10 or more people really need a support team there. And of course, my company does a concierge service where we can come be boots on the ground, and how important one of those people to be boots on the ground is a salesperson for your team. Let's talk about that. What does that look like?
Well, that goes part of I have a pyramid function, a model that we show, and that the event wins when the guest, the host, the team, everybody is considered, right? Too many times people are like, well, I got to optimize for the person. When the event is at its peak, it's because it's delivered its mission and its purpose. It's been focused on delivering for your business because it's doing something for your business, or you're not doing, or there's no reason to do it. And it's optimizing for the people that are in attendance. And so your job is to make sure that everything there happens. And usually you, as the talent, the number one thing you need to do is be present for those people. And what I find is that people in smaller, more intimate retreats tend to think, well, it's because it's small, I can do everything. But if I'm busy working the sound machine, or check, who's going to deal with when the UPS guy shows up late? Who's going to deal with that? You got to make everybody pause for a minute while you go sign something in, right? There's all those little things that occur when you are trying to do everything. So once you have 10 people or more, I believe that anybody, even if you have 5 people, you should always have roles assigned and have other people there. Even if it's a client, you have clients that come and they will participate, but you need somebody who's running tech. You need somebody who is there to be in the conversion environment. Their job is to ensure that people are getting what they need, knowing which questions to ask them to keep them moving forward, pull them out of the room if necessary to address something that will help them make a decision without you having to be the one that's always doing that. So once you get to 10 people or more, then you want that ratio.
Yeah, I thought that's a great point to make. So a lot of retreat leaders often have transformational experiences, but they struggle to sell them. So what's the difference for you about selling a retreat versus a high ticket offer that you're usually doing?
Well, if you're talking about selling people into the retreat itself, or
I would say to start there, sure. Right?
Everything this is always going to be the different. Most retreats, we'll say, are designed to be experiential versus, sometimes in a conference can be a bit of a content dump. And if it's going to be experiential, then you want to start their engagement from the hello. We always say the sales conversation begins at hello. For many of you, this is hello. So hello. And so everything that is going to happen at that event needs to start being set up from the moment they opt in or book a call with you or register. And so the retreat essentially starts then. So if it's going to be an experiential process, your sales process needs to be the same way. So you want them to be consultative. You want them to, every step of the journey, you want them to be affirming that, yep, this feels like the right thing they're doing, right? Because what you don't ever want, the way we always talk about an offer is a perfect conclusion to a well-told story. So you're leading them someplace and then you're inviting them to something, and it should never be a surprise. They should say, yeah, that totally makes sense based on where I am right now. Right. So transformational for that piece. And if it's going to be something that's adventurous, and maybe part of the retreat is you're going jet skiing or mountain biking or doing some stuff, which there are some other, retreats that focus on that stuff, then you want your sales process to also be a bit of an adventurous process, something that they want to get their adrenaline up, get their excitement up, talk about what's the outcomes. So it's really about matching the brand and the experience right from the beginning.
Yeah. So let's talk about the sustainability part. How do you help retreat hosts build a sales process that supports impact, sustainability, and personal bandwidth?
Yeah, great question for that. We focus on, the reason why we talk about, like in my intro, it talks about my childhood and my upbringing. The thing that I learned at a very young age was how to read the room. So the crazy thing is I'm not uncomfortable anywhere, because I learned how to survive on the streets and in jail and in being, surviving abuse at home. And I learned how to read the room and learn how to move people into my direction so that I was an ally to them. And what we've been able to do after decades of doing this for great profit is be able to decode it and systematize it. So literally we could step into your environment, read the room, identify the environment, design the process and the structure to match the environment so that everybody feels like, even if they're talking to a team member, they always feel like they're talking to you, talking to your brand, talking to your company. And that's what we do.
Okay. All right. So let's jump to on stage. Let's talk about the label. There's a lot of people calling events retreats nowadays. And I know you see that as well. And masterminds, a lot of times they call them a retreat. It's a mastermind. You're going to come, but you're also sitting in a room. So you're in a hotel, you're sitting in a room for 2 to 3 days, usually 3, and they're calling it a retreat. What would you recommend to a retreat leader that wants to use that model? That is fine. I don't feel like that's necessarily a retreat, but what would you recommend to help the flow of that feel a little more retreat-like than just an event?
Yeah, it's interesting because the labels piece, I've just learned to ignore. It doesn't really bother me as much because everybody's doing all kinds of stuff. So I used to bother me more. Now I'm like, okay, let's just go with it. Because you could call it, they can be round tables, they can be boardrooms, they can be retreats, they can be events, they can be whatever you want them to be. The main thing is, like I said, it needs to be on brand. If you're going to do a retreat, we have an event coming up in 2 weeks here in Sacramento in our home. And we're capping it at 20 people. We have some people virtually as well, but we have people coming in person. We're calling it a retreat because we're inviting you into our home. And so,
well, it's a small scale. You're not talking about
exactly.
50
It's
to
small,
200 people.
Intimate event.
Yeah.
And retreat implies comfort. It implies a destination. It implies that there's an experience that's going to happen. That's going to be that it prepares you for some sort of transformation. Whereas an event or a conference doesn't necessarily, although there are many that do that, that deliver on that. An event or a conference implies knowledge, transaction, room, group, people. It doesn't necessarily imply something that's going to be embedded inside of you, right? Where a retreat typically does. It means like, hey, we're going to do some things here. You're going to expect something. You might have your shoes off. You might have some different kind of music. You might have some, a lot of times we're a couple of minutes from the American River or Sacramento rivers, and we'll take people down to there to do some, some work. And we do stuff getting out in nature. That's not always going to happen at a conference in a hotel.
Yeah. That's why I wondered. I mean, to me, what you're explaining you're doing, I would say is a retreat, but yeah, when you do bigger rooms, I'm just noticing a lot of people are calling it. Even when I go to my women's conference every year, we do a high level event, and they call it a retreat, but we're still in a hotel and we're still in there for 3 days. We're doing some fun things as well. But I think doing more breakout sessions, having people take off their shoes, even in a big room, fair enough, right?
Yeah.
And I just think, figuring out a way that it feels like you're getting a little bit more transformation than just sitting there in a chair the whole time for 3 days listening to speakers.
What I encourage is don't be as concerned about what you call it. Be more concerned with how you describe it and identify it for the people who are coming. So that way they know what to expect. And most of the time, you'd be amazed, even if you're dealing with, high-level executives and C-suite people, you'd be amazed at how many people really enjoy an alternative experience that they haven't been a part of either before or in a while. So don't be afraid to hold back and make the thing that we see most effective is that when the event identifies your brand and your personality, when you can put that into the event, it becomes a living, breathing thing. So don't be afraid to don't hold back. Put as much of you into it as possible.
Yeah, I so agree. Let's talk a little bit about the problem that you were seeing in the whole marketplace that led you to Gain the Edge when you did that.
Well, largely, we stumbled into this. It was not by design or plan. It was, hey, the industry is needing people. They want to scale their sales teams. They want to do more sales, but they want more sales, but they don't want to have to do them. And it lent itself to us jumping in and saying, sure, we'll figure it out. And that's where, to me, the natural thing is, how do we build this and design this around the founder, around the company, around the brand, and be able to make sure it addresses the needs of the people who are coming so that it feels like a unique experience that was created specifically for them, because that's my DNA. So it just happened to work that this became a great business model for us. But that was the part that was missing, because all the sales events and processes always felt very formulaic. And if you're doing it right and well, there isn't a formula. There's matching you to them and then building the bridge between.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, here's a little personal question. How has becoming a grandfather changed the way that you think about business, legacy, or time?
Man, it has changed everything. We have seven grandkids, 7 under 7, as we refer to them. And it's one of the coolest things that's ever happened. I recommend highly that anybody who doesn't have grandkids, go get some, because they're amazing. And it has changed everything, because before that, I was interested in you being successful. Now I am committed to doing everything in my power to ensure you're successful, because your success as an entrepreneur specifically is what's going to lead to this world being what it needs to be at its best, so that my grandkids and their grandkids will have a life to live into, because entrepreneurs are the backbone of society. We're the ones that change the world and make it go. And my job is to ensure you are equipped with everything necessary to earn all that you can, to make the greatest impact you can, to change the world to the greatest level that you are, so that you can step into the calling that God put you on the planet for.
Yeah.
Change everything.
That just rolled right out, right? It's easy when you're clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what does success mean to you now compared to earlier in your career?
Success now is really the ability to do anything that God calls me to do. It's to be able to have the freedom in space, time, and money, that if I'm called to go to Africa for a mission, I can do it. If I'm called to write a check to pay somebody's mortgage for a year, I can. If I'm called to build a school, to do whatever, I'm not limited by resources, because I've been highly equipped.
Yeah. I mean, my whole goal in the end, after my near-death experience, everything changed for me. But my whole goal in the end is I just want to be the check writer. I feel like I've seen all the ick, and there's plenty of people living in the ick. How much do you need to make it not so ick? And that's, for me, that's what I would love. Let's do here a couple different rapid fires. You ready?
Okay.
One sales system every scaling business must have.
A follow-up process.
Ooh, good one.
You need a follow-up process, and understanding that follow-up is a salesperson function. Nurture is a CRM function.
That's a great one. I love that. One mistake that you've seen every experienced entrepreneur still making.
Believing that it's supposed to look a certain way. There is no certain way. Stop trying to do what they're doing, because all you ever see in public is the tip of the iceberg. You have absolutely no idea what they actually had to do to get to where they're going. So stop listening to everybody's everything and get crystal clear on what you need to be.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. All right. Best advice for someone hosting their first live event or retreat.
Don't forget that they're there for a reason and they need an outcome. And typically they have to invest in order to get the outcome. So please put an offer in front of people, no matter how much they paid to get to that event.
Always be upselling something. Always have the next step, right?
The next solution.
Yeah.
Think about it like this. There's no exception to this. Every solution in the world comes with it a new problem at a higher level. So if you solve their problem, they're now going to have a new problem to solve, and they're either going to solve it with you or solve it with somebody else.
Absolutely. So yeah, might as well be you. I agree. If someone wants predictable revenue in the next 90 days, what should they be focused on first?
That's about the problems that your clients have, and then be maniacal about solving them. So as long as you know what the problems are, and you are just going to, all you have to worry about, you don't have to be clever. You don't have to be creative. You don't have to be fancy. You just got to make sure that people know that you have the cure for what ails them. And that means you're going to have to get on the phone, call people. You're going to have to reach out to people who you know and say, who do you know that needs this problem solved? When you have clarity around that problem, then you can speak to it intelligently and with authority. And that's what makes people buy.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Final question. If you could free one more purpose-driven leader from stress of selling so that they could amplify their impact, what would you want them to hear today?
I want them to hear that you started a business for the purpose of solving problems and impacting the world. And somewhere along the way, you got trapped into this maniacal process of chasing leads and sales. And that's not what anybody got into business for. So we are here to help make sure that you understand that freedom actually can be attained. You just have to start focusing on massive profit and by chasing your purpose powerfully. And when you do, then you're freed. And that freedom is available to you. So don't forget, please don't just get into the rut of, I have to do this because it's a choice.
Yeah, I love that. Couple more things. Who are your ideal clients, and how would someone reach you? We'll have show notes that I'll put your information that you gave me in here, but you can go ahead and state it too.
You can find me on every social media. We'll have our link for our YouTube channel, which we've been putting some effort and focus into. We can solve darn near any sales problem you have there. But what we focus on, the people that get the greatest benefit from us are people who are founder constrained with sales. If you as the founder are still doing all the sales or trying to run a sales team, then you are by definition the bottleneck of the growth of your business, and you need to get out of that. And we set you free from that.
Yeah. I say that with our concierge service as well. It's like we come in and solve those kinds of problems. So I love the idea of having a salesperson part of that concierge team too. This is awesome. Well, anything else, last minute thoughts that you have for the audience?
Just remember that you've been in sales your whole life, every day of your life. It's nothing new. We don't put stuff on you to help you sell. We usually strip stuff away, because once you get down to the bare essence of who you are, your core identity, the best, highest version of yourself is the most enrolling thing you will ever do or be. So just focus on that. Stop trying to be something that you're not. Just be you and let people buy from that.
Yeah. Be you. Everyone else is taken. Isn't that what they say?
Yes.
Well, thanks so much for being here. And I hope all of you listening, I'm sure you got some nuggets. You might need to go re-listen to this and write some of this down. But thanks again. And everyone, we'll see you next time on the show. Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of All Things Retreat. We hope you're leaving with new ideas, fresh inspiration, and the motivation to take your retreats to the next level. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It helps us grow and reach more retreat leaders like you. And if you have any questions, topics you'd like us to cover, or just want to say hello, send us an email at info@weretreatrnr.com. Follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all the latest updates. Until next time, remember, great retreats start with great intentions. Let's make them extraordinary, one step at a time. Thinking about hosting a retreat? Before you dive in, let's make sure you're really ready. Grab your free Are You Retreat Ready checklist and find out if you've got everything in place, from your purpose and pricing to your audience and agenda. Don't guess. Get clear. This quick checklist will show you exactly where you stand and what you need to make your retreat a success. Click the link below in the show notes to grab your gift and take the first step toward hosting with confidence.